Hello my friends, HM here. In this video I'm going to make meatballs. This is Scandinavian meatballs, yes, but it's my version. I'm Danish, so from Scandinavia, and I'm using a lot of good meat here. Let me show you. The ingredients for this meatball is pretty simple. I have here a lovely piece of smoked bacon and also a lovely piece here of roast pork. It's almost 3 kilo. Let me finish the other ingredients. There'll be onions finely chopped up, and they're going to be browned. And then I'm just going to add, as you could imagine with meatballs, I'm going to add eggs to bind the whole thing together, and then wheat flour. And I'm going to spice it with a little bit of capers and also some thyme and some rosemary. And I'm going to salt it with some soy sauce. But of course, this meat here is in one big piece. I like it that way, that it's in one big piece, because then you know what kind of meat you get. You can smell it, you can see it, you can see that this is the meat you want in your meatballs. But of course, it has to be grinded, this meat. And I have a grinding machine, and you might not have that, and then there's no alternative. Then you have to buy grinded meat at your butcher or at the supermarket. At your butcher, at least, you could pick a piece of meat here and then ask the butcher to grind it for you. What I like is that because I have this home grinder, I can pick how finely grind I want it. As you can see, there are these things I can put into my grinder. And I prefer my meatballs with the biggest holes in this grinder so that we will have some pieces of meat in the meatball. So you can actually see, okay, there's meat in this. It's not totally blended. If you put it through this one, there won't be any structure left in the meat. But I like that there's a little structure left in the meat, and you can do that by grinding it on the largest holes in this grinder. But otherwise, that's really it. Grind the meat, mix all this together, put it in the stand mixer, and then we go over here. And I have this pot where I'll roast my meatballs, and also have this iron cast pan that I just restored. And as I'm cooking these meatballs, I'm going to take them up in this thing here and then put them into the oven so they're also baked through. We don't want any raw meat or anything left in these meatballs. They have to be baked completely through. As you can see, with all that ingredients, I'll get about 4-5 kilos of meatballs. That's a lot. And then I'll freeze them down. And then you could say, if you have easy dinner or easy meat, just heat it up a little bit, perhaps in the microwave, and you have these high quality meatballs that you can serve together with a vegetable soup and some rye bread, for instance. It's a lovely meal. But let's get to it, making these meatballs. The first thing I'm going to do is to remove the skin from this piece of bacon. I use my 2 knives for this, and I want to preserve as much of the fat as possible because there's a lot of taste in that. It just makes the meatballs more juicy if there's some fat in it. It's not difficult to remove this skin if you have a nice knife like I have here, the right knife. This skin here, I don't know, it feels like rubber. You definitely can't eat it. Out that goes. And I do the same one for this one. Also, another thing about buying a large piece of bacon here, you would think it would be more expensive per weight or something, but it's not. It's actually cheaper. It's more affordable. And I don't know if you can see this, but there's a lot of meat in this bacon, and it smells really good. It's not pumped with salt water to make it more heavy than it's supposed to be. It is what it is here. You get better quality for less price if you buy bacon in one big piece instead of buying sliced up bacon. Let's cut some pieces here that can get into the meat grinder. Also, if you buy bacon like this, sometimes have bones in it, so you just have to check that there are no bones. Otherwise, you will have a bone in your meatball. I try to buy the pieces without any bones in them, so I don't have to cut that out. Anyway, so what do we do here? Also, this skin here can actually be made into some crispy, delicious stuff, but that kind of requires that I have a lot of the fat attached to the skin, and I want my fat in my meatballs. I don't want, so I'm going to just cut this skin off and throw it out. It's roast pork, and I could of course put it in the oven and make a lovely steak out of it with crispy salted skin. That would be delicious, but we're making meatballs out of this, so that will be for another time. And also, roast pork is a very traditional eating for Christmas night here in Denmark. It's that or duck. That's kind of the two things. And same procedure. I'll cut this up and just check that there's no bones in it. Of course, for meatballs, you can use whatever meat you would like. It's just in Denmark, we eat a lot of pork meat. We also produce a lot of pork meat. We are about 5 million people here in Denmark, but I think we are 15 million pigs that are produced in our farming industry, and we actually import grains and stuff for these pigs to eat because we don't have enough farming land to make all the food that these pigs are eating. And Danes are eating a lot of pigs. I think we eat about 160 kilo each person here in Denmark every year. It's a tradition that a lot of meat we eat is pork. But of course you can use lamb and cow, other types of meat. Whatever you like for your meatballs. The bacon is pork meat, and I like bacon in my meatballs for sure. That makes these meatballs really good. We are almost done. Yeah, I want to save as much of the fat as I can, because you'll just make better meatballs from that. Of course, if I was cutting meat all day long like a butcher, I'd be better at it. It would be more efficient the way I would cut my meat. But I'm not. It's also a little bit difficult when it has been real cut like that. If it had not been cut like that, it would be easier to get this skin off. But then again, this is made as a roast pork steak, and it has to be cut like that to make crispy skin on top. Okay, that was the last thing here. Now I'll just clean it up and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. I've cleaned up my kitchen and I organized it a little bit. Now we have all the meat in this bowl here, and I have my onion ready to be caramelized and roasted that I'll start with very shortly, and all my other ingredients. And also over here I have made my stuff ready for grinding all this meat. But let's fire this one up. This is for my onion. I'm going to do them now. For my onions here, I'm going to use butter. And I'm a little bit excited about doing this because this wok that I'm doing my onions in is brand new, and it's my first Le Creuset pot. It's a very good French brand for making typically iron cast pots, but they make a lot of different stuff, high quality stuff. This is a wok, as you can obviously see. I have another wok that I just restored, but it's an iron cast wok that has no enamelette on, so it can rust if it's unattended for. And also, if you cook anything with acidity in it, then you have to season it, and that can take a half an hour to season a cast iron pan. So it's too much work, and that's why I've bought this wok here, because it is an enamelette wok and then it doesn't rust and I don't have to season it. So it's just a lot less work, and that means I'll use it a lot more. And I guess I can pour in all this onion. It just needs to be browned. And if you look carefully, I have chopped it up quite fine because I don't want any big clumps of onion in these meatballs. Something you should know when you cook: always clean up while you're doing the cooking, because then you have an ordered kitchen and then you don't make as many mistakes doing the cooking. I think I'll put more butter in it. Butter in itself is full of good flavor. And perhaps I should say I have two kinds of butter: clarified butter and ordinary butter. Ordinary butter has a smoke point of 160 degrees Celsius, and then clarified butter has a smoking point that's much higher, at 250 degrees Celsius. And that means you can use clarified butter for roasting beef and chicken breast and fish, so it gets brown and crispy. If you do that with ordinary butter, you will burn the butter, and that will create a bad taste in the dish. If you don't know how to use clarified butter, subscribe to my channel. I will make a short video how to use clarified butter. It's super easy. Again, I'm not a Michelin star chef, but I have a couple of tricks that are good for home cooking, where you also have a life on the side with a job and hobbies and stuff. Whatever you do, I want to spend your life on. So we don't spend all our life on cooking. So it's important to have some tricks that I'll definitely show here on this channel, where we can make delicious food and still have time for everything else we find interesting in life. Anyway, this wok, it's the first time I'm cooking with it, and wow, there's a lot of steam coming off because it's huge, so it's going very fast. I'm almost done. You can see it's getting brown slightly. Another thing about a wok here, it has higher temperature, of course, in the middle than on the sides, so you know that things will not burn if they're up here on the side. but they could burn if they're down here. So you have to steer a little more for the stuff that's down here. But it's pretty fast, I'd say. And it's easy to clean because it has this enameled coating both on the inside and the outside. It won't rust. They're almost done, these onions. I just want to see them slightly browned. That will change the flavor of the onion to become quite a lot sweeter, and also with a little bit of caramel flavor, because that's what happens to the sugars when they turn into sugar and then get even more heat and they turn into caramel, and that's actually the brown color that you can see. That's the color of caramel. I think we are done. Going to turn off the heat now. Now it's iron cast, so it's a lot of extra heat in this. I just have to be sure it doesn't burn this excess heat, but I don't think anything will be burned now. That's done. So let's go over to the meat here and let's get this meat grinded up. So I'll have to turn this machine on here. I hope it's not too noisy. Otherwise it's just getting it in here. But here we go. And look at that, it comes out. It's not completely smashed out. And I like that there's some texture in these meatballs. But otherwise it's just get it down here. It's not rocket science. Really, cooking is not rocket science. That's probably why it's so relaxing to do, and why I like to do it here at night. It's truly relaxing, and for me it's meditation. I can't meditate. I have Asperger's. I think it's part of it. It doesn't work for me, meditation. I tried it, but this works. You can think about something completely different when you cook. And it's still a challenge, intellectual challenge. If it was not an intellectual challenge to cook, then I probably wouldn't find it interesting. But you can always improve your cooking skills, and you can always improve your dishes. You don't have to only use recipes. You can do your own experiments and see what will improve the recipes that you have and what you shouldn't do. You also learn from mistakes. But this will take a little time. I have to grind through this, and you might say this is a lot of work. Why didn't you just buy it, grind it up? Well, if I bought it grinded up, then I couldn't have it grinded like I wanted to here with a rough cut. There are also people who, if you really want to control the texture of your meatballs meat, then you can also cut it with a knife. But that takes longer, and I don't have time for that. But yes, I think you can make some better meatballs if you cut the meat up with a knife and not just put it through a meat grinder like I do right now. But it will take longer. I'm sure Michelin star chefs, they're doing it, but that's a little bit too much for my home kitchen here. But I think I will check out here, then I'll finish up this grinding, and then I'll be back. I'm now done with grinding all the meat. Now I'm going to mix everything that remains into this bowl, and then we're going to mix it all into this meatball dough, and then we're going to bake them. But let me start by doing my onions here first. It's a pretty heavy wok here because it's iron cast. It's almost 7 kilos, so I wouldn't recommend it for a very old person or a person who just doesn't have a lot of strength in her or his arms. But it's not a problem for me. I love it. As I said, it's the first time I've used this pan here, and I absolutely love it. I'm going to be good friends with this wok. Then we have this capers, and I'm basically opening the glass. Then I squeeze out all the salt water that is in it. Give it a good squeeze. Not rocket science, easy peasy. I'll do one more glass. 2 of the glasses I used here with capers was half empty, so it's actually 4 glasses all in all that I have used. And then we need some spice, and I'm going to take some thyme in, and also rosemary. And we're going to put a lot of eggs in as well. And then I'm going to have the final ingredient here. That'll be some wheat flour. How much? I'd say probably 300 grams. But I'll put more of this wheat flour in if the consistency is not what I want. So don't put too much in it to start out with. And here also, this is soy sauce. Simply to put a little salt in it. I could have put some heat in it, some chili or pepper, but I won't. I want these meatballs to be fairly neutral, so you can serve the heat as a chili sauce or something on the side to these meatballs. it's not everybody who likes strong stuff, so better serve that as a sauce that people can dip their meatballs in and get that heat from that. Now we are ready to mix. And thank God I have this machine. Otherwise it would have been a hard thing to mix. Use this for mixing. Same thing I use for mixing my rye bread dough. Now I'm not going to start out mixing this at high speed because then I'll risk getting flour everywhere. And also I'm not going to pull this thing here right away. Let's start slow. Okay, now it looks much better. There's of course a lot of air in it, so it falls down. Now I can move this lever up. I think I'll put a plastic thing that can go around here. I think I'm going to use it. Yes, this one here. It probably require that I pull this lever here. Let's see. Yeah, it's a good thing I have this, otherwise it might fall out. But you can see it's definitely getting mixed now. And I like what I see. The consistency of this is great. Meaning I don't have to put more eggs in it. And it also smells wonderful. When this meat dough smells good, you know the meatballs will be great. It smells of this bacon, the onion, the capers, the spice, soy sauce, the pork meat. I can smell everything. It's wonderful. The only thing I can't smell is the eggs and flour. But it's definitely getting mixed. Just going to let it mix for a few minutes. I'm glad I bought the largest version of this stand mixer that I could get, so I can make the things I want to make in the quantity that I want to make it. The smaller one would have made no sense in my case. I make some large quantities of stuff because I freeze it down, and that just makes it so much easier for me to cook. I spend far less time on it on average, because it's ready to go food. You could call it fast food, but I know what's in it, and it's healthy fast food. Unlike fast food you buy that is easy to eat, it's fast, but it's full of bad ingredients that doesn't taste great. It's also full of things that make it last forever. That's not good for your health. Okay, I think we're done. Okay, so we'll liberate this thing here. It smells lovely. And as you can see, pretty rough this dough here, so it'll make the best texture in these meatballs. I like when you can see, okay, there's real meat in it. I could use this scraper here to make it a little more clean here and get a little bit together. Also get a feeling for the dough. Is it the consistency I want, or should we put it back in the blender? But it is the consistency that I want. We get ready. Get my butter over here. We fire up my wok, and also this one over here. Butter in, a lot of butter. Let's put a little more butter in it. And this pan here I restored recently, and I made a YouTube video about it. Then you can see how to restore an iron cast pan. Okay, now we are there. How do we do this? Well, we use our hands. Don't be afraid of getting a little dirty on your fingers. Now you just put them down. That's probably a little large. You could make them smaller, but then again it will take longer time. This one will be smaller. And just hurry up and get it done. Okay, I'm back here. As you can see, I put a lot more meatballs on my pan here. And this pan is definitely better than this one here, because the capacity on this one here is not so big. Well, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And over here we have a lot more. I can't use the sides because then there won't be any fat to boil it in. Now the trick to get these meatballs really good is to brown them on all sides. Not just flip them over and that's it. You also have to do it on the side. But as they cook, you can normally squeeze in more because they contract a little bit and become smaller as they cook. They probably give off some water. I think I can put 2 small down there. Can I fit another one down here? Whenever they are done, I put them in this bowl over here, and that one is going into the oven. I have turned on the oven here at the lowest temperature I can put my gas oven on. Then I know they will be thoroughly warmed through, because something you don't want to happen is that you have browned them on the outside and then they're raw on the middle. This one is the first one that's completely done. You can see it's browned everywhere. I'm going to take that up and put it over here. And then this one is going into my oven. And also I took a fork because that wooden thing there I had was not so easy to manage my meatballs with. But I'll be back when I've roasted more meatballs. Okay, I finally managed to go through all my dough here, and But I'm still roasting a couple of meatballs, but you can see the result here. Aren't they looking gorgeous? I just took them out of the oven here, but they have to bake. Once I've done all of them, then I'm baking them for 40 more minutes. Then I'm letting them cool down in the oven while I'm going to bed, sleeping. I think I've deserved it, a little bit of sleep here. It's been a very long day. But otherwise, the trick is to, as you can see, try to brown them all around so they're crispy all the way around. That's how they taste best. So, but basically you can see here what I'm doing, turning them around, just checking them that they're not burning in one particular side. But I'm almost done. I'll be back. Okay, this is the very end. I have nearly done all my meatballs. The end is near. It has been a long day. I can barely have all these meatballs on this thing here. We are almost there. Okay, but they're done. Okay, I was just cleaning my iron cast pan. I think you should see it. I have only used hot water and then this stiff brush here with some stiff nylon. And look at how nothing have stuck on it. If you have seasoned your iron cast well, that's how it's going to look even after baking all these meatballs on it. And you can see the water just runs off. I think that was worth filming. But I'll be back. Okay, I just wanted to film also how my brand new Le Creuset wok holded up after the first time here I really used it, making all these meatballs. I have cleaned it only with a stiff nylon brush and warm water. It is not as non-stick as my pure iron cast pan, but you can see how clean it is, and I cannot feel anything when I touch it here. Everything is clean. I haven't used soap here on this side because I thought it doesn't matter, but I have used soap on this side because there's a flame burning under here, and I don't want any things to be burnt into this beautiful coating. So yeah, I'll clean that every time with soap and water. And but really, I'm super happy about this, and I can't wait to make a lot of Asian dishes on it. So this is the end result. There is about 5 kilo here of meatballs. Maybe we should taste one. Wow, are they good? You can smell the bacon, and they're also juicy because I didn't cut all the fat out of my meat. Has to be some fat in that meat or they won't be juicy. You can see when you squeeze it, they're juicy. And they're also crispy on the outside. I mean, these meatballs are definitely better than the ones in IKEA. You can also see here the texture. You can see there are pieces of meat left. It's not this homogeneous mass where you can't really see if there's any meat in it at all. This is meatballs with a lot of meat in it, almost 80% meat. The rest is egg and some flour. I think they taste super good and also spice them well with a little bit of soya for salt. But there's also salt in the smoked bacon there. And then these capers that you can see here. I'm super happy about the result. I think I'll end my video here. You have seen enough, but I hope that you like my video. I hope you'll make these meatballs in your own kitchen. It's easy. There's nothing rocket science over this, but okay, it takes some time, but then make a lot of them. To make just a few meatballs almost take as much time as making 10 times more, so much better just to make 10 times more and then freeze it down. So, but if you like the video, please give it a like and also subscribe to my channel. So thank you very much. I wish you a fulfilling and happy life in freedom and democracy. Goodbye.